Hey, it's Carrie, and I'm at the Pace Studio with Annie to talk about Friends from College, which everybody's really excited about.
Yes, it is an exciting show. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. I'm still friends with people from college. Are you?
You know what? Okay. Yes, I am.
Oh, okay.
I swear, I am. But I had a very different college experience to like the one that is described in the show, in that I went to school in New York City.
Okay.
So we didn't have like a campus, and there was no, we didn't have parties in our dorm rooms, really. Like, we went to bars.
Okay.
Because this was a time, I don't know, I feel like they card now in New York, but at the time that I was going to school, you could, at 18, literally just walk into a bar. I'm making myself sound really old. No. It's not that. It's just that really it was like right, I guess it was like at the beginning of Giuliani. So like the city hadn't been cleaned up quite yet.
Right.
And so my college experience was not one of like keggers and frat parties and like a group of college friends. It was more, it was a New York City experience where so all of that is only to say, yes, I do have a friend from college, my freshman year roommate, who I'm still very close with. In fact, we coincidentally had kids at like 3 months apart. So that was kind of an amazing thing to share with your freshman college roommate. But I don't have like the group of friends that is sort of like the friends from college group.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do.
Do you? That's
yes.
amazing.
Like we go on
Where
vacation every year. I went to a small school in South Carolina.
Amazing.
And we still like go on a beach trip every year. Isn't that interesting?
That is incredible. I feel like that's really...
It's about the same amount of people, too. So
yeah, so you could relate to the show.
I could, and I guess I assume other people have those same groups.
Well, I think that's really Nick and Francesca's experience. I mean, I think like they both are East Coast people who live in LA, and a lot of their friends from college also live in LA. And so that, like, I've heard them talk about it before, as like that friend group became kind of like a surrogate family in LA, with all the attending problems, in the sense of, just your issues with your family may be, it's like there's high points and low points, let's put it that way. And that particular group of college friendships has that kind of sibling or familial quality where it's like, you're just like not behaving. And I think this is really explored in our show. You're not behaving in the way that you maybe would with like your friends that you made when you were 30. Right. You feel just a little more entitled to like let it all hang out.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
Although if I find out someone in our group is having a secret affair, I would be shocked.
You'll be yeah. That's that's something that might mess up a friend group.
I believe that it maybe would. I don't know. I haven't seen the whole series yet. I've seen the first 2 episodes.
It's really... the first 2 episodes dive in.
Are a lot. You jump right into it.
Right into it. It is really interesting. Keegan and I were just talking about this. Like, the nature of that relationship, in that I think both Ethan and Sam are people who like would never have an affair otherwise. And I think the part of the hilarity of it is like, I don't even think until this moment that they think of it as an affair. I mean, I think they really think of it as like, this is just how we hang out. This is just our, it's like, and I know that sounds ridiculous, but I would also describe Sam as like one of the least self-aware people I have ever had the pleasure of playing. I think she's kind of literally goes through in the arc of the show the experience of self-examination for like the first time, I think she's just somebody who has like not really looked at her choices, which brings up some comedy and also some hard moments for her, but I think like they really justify it or rationalize it, I guess is maybe the more accurate way to describe it, is that they don't define it as an affair, and it's not until their circumstances change, by Ethan moving to the city and being like in actual close proximity, where it becomes like, oh wait, what are we doing?
It almost like felt to me like it was a habit that they just like never broke.
Yeah.
Like, we've been doing this for 20 years, so why would we stop now?
Totally. And I think like it's also even accentuated by the fact that like they were never boyfriend and girlfriend. So it's not like they had this like emotional baggage. Like they were doing that thing that we all do in college where you're like, yeah, we're just friends with benefits. We're just like, you know, that you don't really, I don't know, maybe you do in your adult life. I don't know, but probably maybe slightly less so than you would be willing to do in college.
Right.
I don't know what other people are into. No judgments. But I think it's that thing where because it didn't come with a lot of emotional baggage for either of them, it also feels like, well, who's it hurting? And then suddenly it's like, wait, potentially a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, but like I think it takes them that long and that huge change of circumstances for that thought to even occur, which again makes Sam sound like a little ridiculous, but I think we all have those blind spots to our own behavior, and then those moments in our lives where we're like, oh my gosh, I suddenly see what I've been doing in a whole new light, and it's transformative.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, I think that's true for everybody. You go through life and you're like going along, and all of a sudden something will pop up. Maybe not something that dramatic, but like small things.
Definitely. And like I think it's the moment where I think that moment in time for a lot of people, like late 30s, early 40s, is like a moment where you're not a kid anymore. And there's something, if it's not an affair, maybe it's like having kids, or maybe it's, I don't know, your approach to your career, whatever it is, that you kind of go like, oh wait, this is really, this is serious. Like I don't get to go back and it's not going to last forever. And I think it's kind of like that happens around that time.
Yep.
And it, you know, something will trigger that thought in you, because I think that's what that moment in your life is about, you know.
I was just telling my husband the other day, I was like, I really feel like your 30s, 40s, and 50s, there's like no excuses.
No.
Like when you're in your like college and 20s years, you can like be like, I did that because I was young and silly.
Yeah.
And then when you're older, you can be like, I did that because I'm old and I get to do what I want.
Yes.
I get to yell things and be rude because I'm old now.
Yes.
But like those like middle 3 decades, like you don't get excuses anymore.
No, you have
kind of a stink bomb.
It's a total stink bomb. It's like you are the grown-ups in the room. You have to be, you know, and like I think it's really, well, look, I am on the side of, I think it's a heroic transition to make, and I think being a grown-up is a good thing. That said, it's a painful transition to make, and it is a bit of a stink bomb, and it's like, it's hard to be blamed for everything and to have to be like, okay, I'm going to take responsibility for that shit.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's a lot of what goes on in, as you say, in those 3 decades. And again, like, kind of in your 30s and up to 40, I think it's maybe that's that period where you're like, oh God, this is happening. And like, I hope, I mean, I'm guessing, but I hope that by the time we're 50 or 55, that it doesn't feel quite so agonizing. It feels like a little bit more like, okay, I've got this.
Fingers crossed.
I know, right? Like you're not like, ugh, why is it always all on me?
Yeah.
Which like, yeah, it definitely can do.
It does feel like it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, that moment was definitely like, I don't know, like having kids I was like, oh shit. I can no longer be like, it's my mom's fault. It's because, you know, like I'm like, because I'm that. Oh, I'm the one who's going to get blamed. Great.
I know.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
Yeah, totally.
Roll with it.
Totally.
Tell me more about developing Sam as a character. Because she is like, I mean, I've only known you for like 15 minutes, but I think there definitely was some kind of like thought process behind someone who's so chaotic. I don't know.
Yes.
Mindlessly chaotic.
I would say part of the fun of playing Sam is that we're actually not that alike. So it was really delicious to like dive into. And again, like I would say my favorite quality about her is her lack of self-awareness. It's just really fun. And the fact that Nick and Francesca wrote it in a way that she kind of begins, like her eyes begin to open over the course of the show is also was also really fun. So it was a lot of, this is going to make me sound so shallow, but like, but a lot of the like initial character work, I feel like I did with our costume designer, Jackie, actually, because
really?
She's so, Sam is so, she's an interior designer, and she's so in the world of fashion and design, in a way that, like, I mean, I am literally a moron on all of those topics. I'm like, I don't know, just wear some jeans, you know? And that was kind of a great starting place, because I think it's a place of imagination, and in your imagination you can always have everything all the time. You know, you can like go from this to this to this, and truly nothing does hurt anybody because it's all pretend. And I think Sam really operates from a place there of fantasy, and also from a place of drama, you know, like that it's really enjoyable for her. That said, like, there's no cost in the world of like, oh, I'm gonna make this beautiful thing, and I don't like any of that anymore, I'm gonna go over here and so that was kind of like a great leaping off point, because then I felt like just coming from there, but like bringing that sensibility to like day-to-day life is hard on the people around you, you know?
Yeah. No kidding. 'Cause she's like, she lives in a lot of glamour.
Yes. Like all glamour.
But that is all just shine.
Yeah.
And that's...
Yeah. And I think it comes from I was going to say fear, but I'm not sure if it's quite fear. It's like, but like a place of not liking to make decisions. Like that thing where like when you put the mark on the paper, suddenly there's some possibility is lost, and like really wanting to have all possibility all the time. And I mean, again, like that kind of brings back, like circles back to like the Ethan situation where it's like, it's not so much about, it's just like, well, that's mine and I want to have it too. And why shouldn't I? You know? And like that is, I mean, a very juvenile way of looking at things. But like, not to be judgmental of Sam, but just I think that's really like the place she comes from. And it's hard for her to make a choice that feels like it limits any other choice.
Right.
You know?
Although managing 2 relationships.
Managing
secrets, I guess.
Managing secrets.
You don't even have to be relationships. Managing secrets.
Oh my God.
Just
so exhausting.
Yeah.
So exhausting.
It takes a toll.
100%. And I think like the thing that's worked up to now is that it hasn't really been that, because it's been like, oh, we like see each other once, maybe twice a year. It's it's away from the people who could potentially be hurt about it. So in a weird way, I think they can convince themselves that it's like they're very responsible, because it's like, this isn't hurting it. This is kept over here in this little corner, and I'm not keeping secrets because it's just I happen to already be going out of town for work, so I'm doing it. And it's like that way that like in your brain you kind of don't allow yourself to see what is actually happening, and then the fact of their proximity really changes everything and suddenly makes it all about secrets.
Yeah.
And then, you know, not to like, I mean, spoiler alert, not to like ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen, but like, I think there's also a level of just, again, like not really admitting, I won't speak for Keegan, but not really admitting to herself, for Sam, like how she really feels about this person. And that being part of that thing of like not really examining the choices that she's made in her life, and like, what kind of life she actually wants to live, because of going like, well, I can live any kind of life I want because I can change it at any moment, and I can live this, I can be like this and I can be like that, and you know, I think like kind of coming to that moment of being like, oh, I can't actually have all of that without hurting a lot of people.
What's something you would like to have that you can't have?
Oh gosh.
Is there anything?
Yeah, you know what? I can really relate to Sam and a lot of the people in this show. I think that if I could go back to my 20s with the knowledge that I have now, again, not that I have regrets about like what I did in my 20s or anything like that, but I think like that saying, your youth is wasted on the young, is so fucking true. And like, if I could go back to being like in college or in my 20s and know what I know now, I feel like I would just kill it. You know,
Me
it would
too.
be so fun. I was worried about all the wrong things, I think, at the time. You know, like I was just, I don't know, like I think about the things that I felt anxious about, or that I was like so worried about, like, oh gosh, I have to like do this and I have to do whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, I would have so much more fun if I knew what I know.
I think it feels so like every decision feels like, if I make this choice, this is the rest of my life.
Totally.
Not true.
Not true. And I'm like,
how many times has your life evolved since college? Oh my word, so many ways.
So many ways. And like so many things that I was like, oh God, well, I can't do that because I don't have time, because I have to start to, and you know, and I'm like, I wish that I would have just been like, yeah, fuck it. I'm going to go for 6 months to, I don't know, Greece, wherever, and just do whatever, because you know what? It doesn't matter. Enjoy it. Like, and I think I didn't feel permission at that time, you know?
Yeah, I didn't either. And I know, like, when I was that age, like, which was ridiculous, but like, I wish I would have worn a bikini like every day.
100%.
I could eat like ice cream and pizza every day, and it didn't matter.
Totally. You know what a friend of mine said to me, and I was like, you are so right. I want to remember this. She was like, every time she's like, I look back at pictures of myself when I was 20, and I was like, oh my God, I was so gorgeous. I wish I'd known how gorgeous I was. And then I see pictures of myself when I was 30, and I'm like, oh my God, I was so gorgeous. And she's like, I look back at pictures of myself when I was 40, and I'm like, oh, she's like, I just wish I would have appreciated how great I looked at any given time. And I was like, oh, right.
Instead of picking.
Right. Instead of being like all the time, like, oh God, what's wrong with my face? All that stuff that we do to ourselves because we can't see what's coming.
I know.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it is weird. It is weird.
It's weird how that happens.
I know.
Is there anything else coming up? Like, is there any part of the show that you think really stood out that you want people to like, that like really like meant something more to you maybe than like general plot stuff? Like, there's things that you did on the show that we won't know, like meant maybe more to you, or like you thought through harder. You know what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah. You know, in my career, I have a weird divergence between like a lot of the work that I've done in film and television and a lot of the work that I've done in theater. And a lot of the work that I've done in theater has been comedy, and a lot of the work that I've done in film and television has been drama. And so this was like a really fun moment for me to get to do a comedy on camera, and also was really satisfying because it's a comedy with a lot of heart underneath it. And so for me, I don't know if this is like one, but like on set, like one of the most exciting things was being with like people who are so comically gifted, like Keegan and Nat and Fred and Billy, Kobe. I mean, they're so good. And I felt every day like I was getting a master class in like comedy chops and like improvisational skills. And then also felt really lifted up by Nick, because he had this incredible way of kind of, I mean, he's a really good director of like knowing when to be like, you know what, like go big on this one, just like go, or conversely being like, we got that big take, or we got that really hilarious take, like let's do one where we just really try to like find the most grounded version possible. And like, for me, just personally as an actor, it was so exciting to work that way, because it felt like it was challenging, and it was like great to be surrounded by people that I was just always felt like I had something I could learn from. Yeah,
and Netflix has really pulled in like some amazing stars for this show.
My
like
gosh.
The cast was incredible. I was like,
oh my gosh,
it's like you guys are great.
Everybody,
all in one place.
Everybody, and again, like I want to give Nick like a shit ton of credit on this. Like he cast like also the nicest group of people, so it's like this incredibly talented group, and also, I mean, genuinely wonderful people who were really fun to be with on set every day. So it was like a really fun place to go.
Yeah, it's nice to work with nice people.
Oh gosh, it's so much better. It's so much better than working with not nice people.
It makes a huge difference.
It does. When you're spending
no matter the industry.
No matter the industry, when you're spending hours per day with a group of people, you're like, oh, it's so much better when I like you.
It makes it all good.
Yes, so true.
So true. Well, it was really a pleasure to speak with you.
Lovely to speak with you too.
And I hope everybody watched the show because it is really funny.
Yay, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
You know, don't have affairs.
I was just going to say, I'm not advocating anything.
She's not judging it, but she's not advocating it.
Exactly.
So do what you want, but probably not that.
Agreed.
Anyway, thank you.
Okay. Glad to be here.
Yeah.